Hello, hello, hello. Good evening, everybody. It's your girl, Tamika Hall, and you are here for another episode of the She Wins by Faith podcast. Oh, I'm really excited. Last week, we talked all about how to conquer our fear and unlock our purpose. And this week, I'm back with a very dear friend of mine. We are going to be here with Don Lieck, and we're going to be talking about how to stop fearing rejection and be our authentic selves. Listen, if this is your very first time tuning in, I want you to make sure that you follow myself, make sure that you follow Don as well. Follow me wherever you are. We are broadcasting live from multiple areas. We are here on Facebook and YouTube and Amazon Live. And tomorrow we're going to be on Spotify, iHeartRadio. Listen, we're just taking over the globe. That's the whole point of this. Also, I need for you to do something for me. Please share this out with somebody who needs to learn how to stop being afraid of rejection, and someone who needs to learn how to be their authentic selves. Share this out and get ready for a really transformative conversation. I'm really excited to add you to the show. Dawn, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for being here today.
Oh gosh, Tamika, thank you so much for having me. I am so excited. This is my lane.
Yeah, I mean, like, you are literally one of the dopest people that I know.
Oh,
And when we're talking about you just being the transformation coach and stuff like that, we met 3 or 4 years ago. I think it might have been close to 4 years ago. And the very first time that I saw you, it was at Anika Cohen's conference. And I remember I was sitting in the audience and I was going through a major transition in my life. And you were up there and you were talking about being free. And I remember, like, I had to talk to you when it was all over, but I remember writing notes. And when I left there, I felt armed with a way to really, like, step into my future and really own what I wanted, what I really wanted out of my life. And I'm so grateful to you. I never would have thought that here we would be working together, but I just remember being, like, in awe of this woman who had just, like, spoken overseas and, like, and you're talking all about how you were able to become free. And I'm just so honored to just have you in my life and to call you my friend and to call you my sister. I just adore you.
oh, thank you. I feel the same way. Likewise, absolutely, absolutely. I remember that day. I remember it well. You were really just starting to go through a huge transition.
Yeah, and for those that are wondering, I mean, I'm really transparent. I was actually in the process of going through a divorce, and I think I was in a place where I wasn't sure if it was what I was supposed to do. It's like it was what I wanted to do. I felt like it's what I needed to do, but I was really afraid to do it. I was afraid of what people were going to think about me. It was my second divorce, and growing up in the church and working in ministry, and I was really afraid to just take the step. And yeah, I walked away from that conversation, from watching you talk about you finding your freedom and you finding your voice. And I actually had the courage to kind of, like, okay, Tamika, you cannot be miserable for the rest of your life. And it was a really, really, just, it was a good day. And I feel like it was a divine meeting that took place. And so, with us talking about you being the transform, like, I know there are other coaches, but I think that you are the transformation life and business coach. I think that you are. I want to just kind of start right there. Can you talk to us about when you experienced a major transformation in your life?
Gosh, it was, it was kind of probably, around the same age. Maybe I was probably a little bit older than you were when you went through your transformation. But I think that, and not just women, men and women alike, we get kind of to middle age or a little bit younger than middle age, and we start thinking, is this all there is? I know I'm doing what everybody says I should be doing. I'm married, I have the husband, I have the kid, I have the house, I have, maybe the picket fence, I have the cars, I have the job, I have it all. But why am I absolutely miserable? And so that was where I was at when my transformation came about. It was just like, it just kept weighing on me that I was giving my everything to everyone else, but never anything for me. And I often say, you could ask me any question about my husband or my son at the time, like, what's their favorite color, their favorite number, their favorite food, their favorite whatever. I could have just read it right off to you. But if you ask me, like, "Hey, Dawn, what's your favorite color?" I don't know. I had completely lost myself, me.
Hmm.
And I just ceased to exist. And it just kept weighing on me and weighing on me. And so, I made a plan. I said, there's got to be more than this. There's so much more passion left in me. There's so many more things that I want to do. My current situation was not going to enable me to do those things. So I knew I had to make the change. But this was a 20-year marriage. I kind of didn't know any difference. And it's our comfort zone, whether it's working or not working, it's still our comfort zone. And it's very hard to make that change, make that move. But I did. And it was about, it started right around the age of 40. And it took me about 5 years to make the full transition. But I left a 20-year marriage. I left a 20-year, very high paying job. And I just moved and I started over again, just from scratch. I mean, completely started over with nothing. So, yeah, very humbling. And, but that enabled me to be able to find out who I was because I married at a young age and I didn't really get that chance to like grow into my own womanhood, so to speak. I did what was expected of me, not what I wanted. And so, middle age, there I was doing what I wanted. And that was the transformation. And it takes a while. It doesn't just happen, it takes a while. So,
So, I mean, let's talk about that. You like you said, you finally get to this place where you're doing what you want. Did you deal with naysayers? Did you deal with people coming against you? And if so, how did you how did you navigate that?
it was, I mean, just the job in itself. The job, I made $250,000 a year, Tamika, and I walked away. I mean, what if we work for these things? We work, I mean, this is what the goal, the American dream, the everything. So, of course, and then the 20-year marriage, I had people say to me, this is what marriage is about, Dawn. It's about it goes from passion and excitement and partnership. It goes into a friendship. I was 40 years old. I did not need another brother. I had a few. I didn't need a brother. I didn't need another one. And that's what I had. It wasn't a bad marriage. There was no fighting. There was no cheating. There was nothing like that. It just wasn't enough for me. There was just nothing there except for your everyday friendship. And maybe for some people, that's okay. Maybe that's okay. I think that may be okay if I was at the time having been much, much, much older. But at 40, girl, I was not ready for the rocking chair and the nothingness of life. I was not ready for that. So, yes, many naysayers. You're crazy. You're throwing away your life. What did you expect? Um,
Hmm.
why would you leave this job? The job was killing me. The stress level was beyond anything that you can imagine. And really, it really came down to it, I was doing the job and I had scratched so hard to get to the top, to make the money, to enable my family to have everything that they needed. It wasn't necessarily the job that I wanted, it wasn't necessarily the position that I wanted, but it was the pay that
Hmm.
enabled everyone else to be so happy. And of course, I was happy with the handbags and the this and the that and all the rest of it. I'm not going to say I wasn't, but I was paying for it 10 times over in with the stress level and just it being not something that I wanted to do, but I kind of felt like I had to keep everybody happy,
Hmm.
keep everybody accustomed to the lifestyle they had, keep them with the lifestyle they had become accustomed to, which I enabled them to have. So yeah, there was a lot of naysayers, a lot of naysayers,
Wow.
family, friends. They're like, what are you doing? Friends that had been married, same amount of time where we kind of grew up together, what are you doing? What are you expecting? You're expecting too much. Well, you know what? You're right. I'm expecting more. And I'm not willing to settle anymore. That was the bottom line. I was not willing to settle for mediocrity anymore. I just wasn't. And so, yes, many naysayers, lost many friends, um, you know, differences with family members, of course, the in laws that I had grown very close to. I was, just outed completely from the family because, I was divorcing. So, yeah, it was a huge change for me, entire lifestyle change.
An entire lifestyle change. And I know we're talking about rejection, but I think there really comes a moment when you are kind of going through this metamorphosis and you're taking stock of your life, and where we have to pay attention to you know we're paying attention to, what do I want, what don't I want, and rejection can be scary. Am I making the right decision? um, I have somebody over on Amazon that says, wow, I can relate with having the job for the family. Yeah, Alicia says that over on Amazon. I just want to give a quick shout out to Joyce Lansbury. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Shanice, for joining us over on the West Coast. We have Nicola that's also joining us. Thank you guys for your comments. Listen, please feel free to share out this podcast. The reason why we do it live is so that you can have live interaction with the experts that are here. And if you're just joining us, I'm speaking to transformation life and business coach Dawn Leek, and we're just speaking about the decision she made when she ended her 20-year marriage. And I'm gonna tell you, when I saw you live, the one story that kind of stuck out to me is you said that you were the two of you were in a restaurant and you were looking around at everybody else, and that was kind of the deciding factor.
Yes, I was looking around at everyone else. I will never forget it. It was the deciding moment. So we're sitting, we had gone shopping because that was like our thing. We went shopping and we went out to eat, and that was kind of it. But that was our thing. So it was a Saturday afternoon. We went out to eat. We sat down. He decided, what he was going to have. I decided what I was going to have. The waiter came over. We placed the order. And I started looking around, and it's a beautiful Saturday afternoon, and everybody in the restaurant is talking together, laughing, just having a great time. And like this time, you know how there's that wait time, it may be 15, 20 minutes until your food comes. We did not say one single word to each other. It was kind of like a sports bar type place. And he just sat there looking at the TV. And I was watching all the other people. And I just decided that moment, I was like, this is not it. This is not enough. When you can't even sit down and have a meal with your
Hmm.
husband and have a conversation, we went through the entire meal and we never spoke. And it wasn't like, it wasn't on purpose that I didn't speak, or it just was what it was. It had run its course. It was over. And that wasn't okay. I mean, tears were like running down my face because I'm looking at all of these people that are just having a good time just in each other's company, and I no longer had that. And it
Wow.
was, like I said, it wasn't anything bad, it just wasn't there anymore. And so, but again, he was my comfort zone. So you have to make the decision as to whether you are brave enough to leave that comfort zone. And that's the hard part, because I'll tell you, after I left, there were times where things went wrong, and I got really sick, and the first thing I wanted to do was run straight back to him. And because he was my comfort zone for all those years, and I had to learn how to not do that, how to stand
Hmm.
on my own 2 feet. And that was challenging. But like anything else, this too shall pass. And it
Yeah.
did.
I had been married for almost 13 years, and I remember moving to Philadelphia, and I remember just being so frustrated because my car wouldn't start one time. And I was just like, oh, at least I had somebody else to talk to. I'm like, I'm in this whole city. My dad's not near, because it's different when daddy's like, in the same state. I'm like, nobody's here. And I had to figure things out on my own. And it was scary.
Yes.
Yeah, like when I had to figure out how to read what the tire size was, like all those little things. And you said something at the beginning where you said, even if it's not really working, it's your comfort zone. And I think about us, just who we are as people. We become very content with just existing. And there comes a point where we want to transform. We probably know that we need to, but I don't know if maybe we lack the confidence to really become who we were always created to be. And I want to ask you, with many of us lacking confidence, what comes first? Does transformation come first, or does the confidence come first? I don't know if that makes any sense.
It it makes total sense to me, and I will say the transformation comes first.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
you if you wait for your confidence, you'll never transform. You won't do it. You just won't do it because fear will hold you back. So you start the transformation, you have to plan. Like I said earlier, my transformation transition took 5 years. But here's the key to it, Tamika. You have to allow yourself to dream again.
Hmm.
When you allow yourself to dream again, it makes the transformation a little bit easier because there's light at the end of that tunnel. Yes, you're scared. Yes, you don't know what's going to come next. But if you allow yourself to dream about how you want things to be in the end, it can keep you going. So the confidence comes when you make, like for me, when I made that transformation and I made the move, I left everything behind. I left, I mean, my belongings, I left everything and I moved to another state because, almost 1,000 miles from my home where I was born and raised, my whole life, the same place. I picked up and moved a
Wow.
thousand miles away because I knew that, and not everyone can do this, and I am definitely not suggesting that anyone do this. I knew myself that if I stayed near, and even if I left our home, he would follow me and I would allow it because he was my comfort zone. So I had to totally get myself out of my comfort zone, learn how to do those things, like you said, learn how to be with myself because I really didn't know how to be with myself or by myself because went from my mother's home to his home. So
Hmm.
there was never no just dawn. There was never a solo time in my life. And so at the age of 45, it was the first time that I had ever slept in a house by myself. It was the first
Wow.
time. There were just a lot of things but once you figure out the answer to this all is allow yourself to dream again, it will help you through the transition. And the confidence comes once you figure out you didn't die. You did
That's
it
good.
and you didn't die. You're going to be okay. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be easy, but I promise you, you're not going to die. And once you get to that point where you figure out, look, here I am, it didn't kill me, then the confidence comes because once you do something, a transformation in your life of any kind, and you have accomplished that and you figure out you didn't die, the confidence is there and ready. I mean, look at you, Tamika. Once you made the move, it's like, oh my God,
Yes.
I didn't die. I can do great things now.
Yeah, I get really, really, really excited about that. And I know that you ended up spearheading the book Finally Free. Finally Free. And I feel like you have a group by the same name as well on Facebook, but I remember seeing those words and I remember being like, that really resonated with me to finally be free. And I think, like you said, you kind of have the transformation. You put yourself in a position, because for me, I kind of did the same thing. I was like, I got to get out of here. And I remember I prayed and God opened up a job position and I ended up moving to Philadelphia, completely out of my comfort zone. I kind of still feel like I have a little bit of PTSD from that, but regardless, I did it. Like, this country girl moved to the big city by herself, and my confidence definitely came, like getting ready to be evicted, but I didn't get evicted. Like, we figured it out. I had to eat oatmeal a lot of nights. I had to eat a lot of ramen noodles, and my blood pressure is already too high. But I still did it. I remember being like, but I'm free to be me. Talk
Yep.
to us about your book, Finally Free.
Finally Free is about just that. It is, facing fear, facing opposition, um, facing anything that has put you in fear, and the triumph on the other side. And so it is stories of people that have, walked through fear and have made it triumphant to the other side. So it is a fabulous book with the different stories in there. And I was really called to do the book. It was my first anthology, and I was called to do the book. And it was made very clear to me that the book was not about me, and that I was simply the vessel. And so I did not write in that book. It was my first book. I did not write a chapter in the book. I did not write a foreword, nothing, because it was made so clear to me that this was not for me. Um, so in being the vessel, I mean, that was the blessing in itself, because the transformations that have come from the authors in that book, just finally being transparent and just telling their story, getting it out in front of the world, and it lifted that burden from them, and the healing has just been amazing for those authors. So they are doing some phenomenal things, phenomenal things.
I know that you have a mantra, do it scared. Talk to us about that, because you're talking about being the vessel and all those things, and I really believe that oftentimes we go through things so that once we get to the other side, we can help pull other people along as well. But it's still scary, even for the leader that you've become. So do it scared. What does that mean to you? And why is that the mantra?
Oh my goodness, because I am, and people think that because I really do run my mouth, and I'm at times kind of loud, I'm boisterous, and so people just think that that's me, but really, I'm really kind of an introvert, and I come off as really an extrovert, and I'm really pretty much an introvert. And everything that I do, I try to lay it out, map it out. I'm an over planner. um, and I've found in the past that just by what if this happens, what if that happens, and I find I just don't do it. So I finally said to myself, you know what, Dawn, you're going to have to do it scared, because you're not, if not, you're going to stay stuck and you are not going to do it at all. So, for all of the listeners and the viewers, understand this. I do numerous different things, numerous projects, speak all the time. I want you to know that no matter what I do, I am absolutely terrified before I do it every single time. I'm on this show with you tonight, Tamika. I had little butterflies, and I speak on a regular basis, but
Yeah,
every
you do.
single time I'm like, let me look at my notes, let me see if I got the, it's just me, it's just me. So everything that I do it scared. And so if we don't do it scared, we won't do it at all, because there is one thing that is universal, and that is fear. It Fear, I liken it to the enemy, and this is how I look at it, is that fear is the form that the enemy is taking, that excludes no one. There's
Hmm.
not one person alive. So the enemy may be able to attack each of us in different ways depending on what our purpose is. But there is one thing that the enemy can always use, and that is fear on every single person, because none of us are exempt. And so when I think about fear, I think about, a war between good and evil, basically. So if we have God on one side and we have the enemy on the other, you've heard me say this. Which side are we going to be on? I know which side I'm on. So if
Yeah.
it was a physical fight, I would be like throwing down, because I'm going to be on God's side. We're going to take out the enemy, right? So why then, when we are in the midst of walking in our purpose, do
Hmm.
we let the enemy win using fear?
Wow.
God gave us our purpose. He has given us direction. He has put the idea in our mind. And most times he gives us the way. If we're listening, he will give
If we're
us the
listening.
way, the
Yeah.
how to. And if we let fear take over in the form the enemy, then the enemy wins, right? The enemy wins every time. So if we were out on a field of battle, we would not let the enemy win. So we can't let him win in our head either. So when God gives us our purpose of what we're supposed to do, I am in great belief that we don't come up with ideas by ourselves. They're given
Right.
to us. And so we need to follow the ideas that are given to us, walk in our purpose, and not let the enemy beat us in the form of fear.
Linnea says, this was so
You
meant for
are
me.
muted.
Am I? Am I muted?
Yeah, you're muted now.
Can you hear me now? I'm not on
We
mute.
have lost Tamika.
Wait, hold on. Let's see. You can't hear me? I'm not on mute. Let me see. Testing. I'm not on mute right now. Hold on one second. Testing.
There you are.
Okay. Yeah, I'm like, I'm not on mute. I don't see it anywhere. I don't see it. Yes. So Linnea says, she says, this was so meant for me to listen in on this evening. She said, I just had a conversation with a friend about letting go. Yeah, it's important to let go, to do it afraid. But Dawn, what about the person that's like, listen, I'm afraid of rejection. And honestly, I don't even, for me, it used to be difficult for me to even admit that because nobody walks around and says, hey, I don't want to be rejected. I feel like that's, people can say I'm afraid of failure. People, we're willing to admit that. But the rejection piece, rejection is real. And I want to ask you, why is the fear of rejection stopping us from being our authentic selves? Like, how does that happen? Why? Why do we let it happen?
You know, I really thought about rejection. And it starts very young in childhood, right? It's like, we're playing kickball and they're picking teams. And oh my God, please, please, Lord, don't let me be the last one picked. Don't
Right.
let me be the last one picked. And that carries through. It's human nature. It carries through our entire adulthood. And so when someone rejects us, we go back to that little child that didn't get picked or was the last one picked for the kickball game, or whatever it is. But it's human nature to not want to be rejected. And my thing is that yes, I mean, I'm human. I don't want to be rejected. Is it hurtful? Yes, sometimes it's hurtful. It's hurtful to be rejected or excluded or anything along those lines. But the first thing that we really have to do is not worry about what other people think, because all people are not our people. And so you can have the same product, you can have the same service, and I've posted this on Facebook before, the bread aisle at the grocery store. um, there are hundreds of different breads all on the same shelf right next to each other.
Right.
And so we go and do I want the butternut? Do I want the Wonder Bread? Do I want the store brand? What do I want? We know everybody pretty much eats the same kind of bread all the time. So it's not like we go in and we're going to pick a different bread unless it's on sale, right?
Right.
So
Right.
so even though all of those breads are there, none of those other companies stop selling bread. So, if we are think along those same lines, that not everybody is going to be for us, but let's think about ourselves. We're not for everybody either. I mean,
That's the truth.
people that we connect with or that we don't connect with. So we reject people all the time in a roundabout way. It may not be, you know, blazing rejection, but we reject things all the time. So we have to stop worrying about what other people think and just be our authentic self. I remember when I first started, because I have only been on Facebook for about maybe 4 years. I
Mm.
thought that Facebook was the devil. I I'm like that football movie. I'm like, ooh, it's the devil. I did not want to get on Facebook. So I finally got on Facebook and I figured how to do a Facebook Live. And I went in there, and I remember this. I went in, and where it says everyone can see this except for, and you can take people, you can block people from watching a certain live. And I went in there and I blocked about 5 people. And I thought to myself after I got done, I'm like, I blocked them because I was worried about their judgment
Oh,
of watching my Facebook Live and about what I was talking about. There wasn't anything out of the way, but I felt real funny about them watching. And all it was worrying if they were going to accept and watch it, or if they were going to be critical of it, or if they were going to reject watching my Facebook Live.
mm,
And at that moment, I said to myself, I will not block anyone again. If they do not want to watch my Facebook Live, then they can just scroll past it. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not going to change who I am. I'm just going to continue on being my authentic self. That's all I can be. That's all God made me to be. Anything else is fake. So being rejected is part of life.
yeah.
Um, don't worry about it. We didn't look when we didn't get picked for the game, for the kickball game. Guess what? I'm going to say it again. We didn't die. Here we
Mm-mm.
So if someone is rejecting, don't give up. Go don't change your plan. Don't ever change your plan. Just change how you go about achieving your goal. So if one way doesn't work and you're rejected by someone or something that's important to, the completion of your plan, just stop, don't change the goal, go back, reassess the situation, and go back at it again from a different direction, because not everybody's going to reject you. The person that rejected you is not for you. So, like I said, not everybody's for you.
I like that. I like that. You gave us a lot of little nuggets there to help us release that fear. The first thing you said was, you can't worry about what everybody thinks, because another one, everybody is not your person. I mean, that was really powerful for me. I think when I realized, well, you just may not be for me, even in business. I mean, to put it really blatantly, I used to kind of prostitute my gifts because I wanted everybody to buy into my product. Let me publish your book, and I basically I was giving away my skills for rock bottom prices, and then
Right.
I was angry.
Yeah. And then you come to the point where you're like, okay, here's my price for my services or my product. And if they say they can't afford it, well, basically they're rejecting us, right?
Yeah,
They're rejecting our pricing. And the answer is very simple. I'm so sorry. Maybe in the future, we can work together. That's it. Because guess what? If someone can't afford your services, that's your worth. That is what you have chose to price your services at. And if they can't pay your pricing, or they won't pay your pricing, then they are not your customer. They are not your client, because your client will have no problem paying you what you're worth and what you're asking.
yeah.
So I used to do the same thing. I'm like, oh, well, maybe we
What
can
can you afford?
discount this a little bit. Maybe I could cut you. No, not
No.
anymore. Not anymore.
But think about, even from a relationship standpoint, because we're talking about business, we can even relate to this when it comes to our jobs. But how many times in relationships do we do this? I know I've done it a lot in relationships, and I have found myself not being authentic because I was afraid that I was going to be rejected by this person that I really liked or cared about or was in love with. And and I don't know what it is when we we take on somebody saying I don't want to be in a relationship with you, and we make it a personal attack, and it's not always a personal thing. Like maybe that person really is just not for you.
Right.
Maybe they feel like they're not worthy to be with you, right? There's
Right.
so many things, but we will belittle ourselves, we minimize ourselves, we forget what color we like, we forget our favorite food. I remember those same exact things, Dawn, where I was like, I don't know what my favorite color is. I don't know what kind of movies I like. I don't really have a favorite food. Like, is there a favorite food out there? Like, I mean, it's like because I was morphing myself, and I used to say, and I used to wear like a badge of honor. I would say, well, I don't really have a type in terms of relationships. I don't really have a type. I can get along with anybody. Okay, but what about when that person that you're trying to be with, they're overstepping boundaries that you've never allowed yourself to have. You
Right.
know, I didn't have boundaries until very recently. And then I was like, wow, like I don't like this. And if I would have had the boundaries ahead of time, then them saying, hey, I don't want to go any further with you, it wouldn't hurt as bad because it's like, well, I don't like when you do this. So,
Right.
yeah,
Right. Exactly. I told a friend not too long ago, I said, and this stands true in business as well, is that there are usually 3 to 5 things that are not there is no voting on these 3 to 5 things in our lives. And so in a relationship, there's going to be, let's just say 3 things that you really have to have in order to be happy in that relationship. So, one of them may be cuddling, one of them may be communication, one of them may be, hot sex. Okay. So,
mhm,
what we do is we meet somebody and they have 2 of those 3 things, right? And we go, well, he's really, really, the sex is phenomenal and he cuddles really good. However, he doesn't communicate. But we have these other 2 things, so it'll be fine. It'll be fine. I guarantee you, and the same holds true in business. If there are 3 things that are non negotiable for you, and you compromise and you take 2 out of those 3 within, I, within 6 months to 1 year, I guarantee you that third thing that's missing is going to become an issue.
absolutely.
It's going to become an issue. And I think that's where we fall short is we settle because we're like, oh, it's 2 of the 3 things that, because
Right.
we feel like that's the best we can do. It's like, well, it's better than him only having 1 thing. He's got 2. No, 3 is it. The 3, this is non negotiable. These are the 3 things that I need. These are the boundaries. These are
That's
the
it.
standards. And if this situation or person does not meet those 3 things, I'm going to have to move on. You
And we
know,
have to give ourselves permission and be brave enough to walk away, whether it's a relationship, whether it's leaving money on the
is
table. If it does not fulfill you and it's not what you want, I'm going to tell you, Dawn, my confidence began to soar when I learned to say no to things that I didn't want to do. When people are like, well, Tamika, how did you become confident? I learned how to say no.
yes,
Because when you're morphing and you're people pleasing and you're morphing to be everything to everybody, because really at the end of the day, you're afraid of being rejected,
yes,
you don't really have any confidence because
nope,
your confidence is based on the affirmation of other people.
right, right. What they think, what they say, so they
Yeah.
can make us feel if we let them or if we enable them and we give them that power, they can
Wow.
make or break us personally and in business. So if we keep our own power, we
Hmm.
set those standards, we say this is non-negotiable and this is where I'm at. And no matter, and in relationship wise, feelings will try to just really take over, when somebody's got 2 out of those 3. But I guarantee you, like I said, it's going to be not outside of 6 months that is really going to start bothering you because that's
Mhm.
something that you need. And so we just need to stop putting our needs aside and settling, and just hold true to those standards and those things that we need as a person, ourselves, for
Yeah.
for us.
For us. Tiffany says, I struggle with rejection and feelings of abandonment due to my father not being present as a child. I see it replaying in my life now as an adult, especially during my divorce. It definitely starts at a young age. You have a lot of clients, all walks of life, all races, all honestly, even all religious backgrounds. What do you say to those that are struggling and they can pinpoint I know my rejection started with feeling abandoned from a family member. Like, what would you say to Tiffany or others that are struggling like she is?
The biggest piece of that, and I'm sure that she has heard it before, but we have to forgive. We have to forgive,
Mm,
because by forgiving, we're not forgetting. We're not forgetting what happened. But by forgiving that person or that situation, it sets us free, you know, by writing about it, and that's one of the things I love about doing books and doing anthologies is when people actually write their feelings about this, their anger about something like that, and they're putting it out there to the world. It's like it lifts, it lets it go.
mm,
We can't hold it. And it's kind of like, and I learned this myself, is like, don't, I don't know how the saying goes, but it's almost like, don't, hold your don't take the actions of your ex and put them on your next. And
hmm,
it's kind of like that, it's because we're like, well, this person did this to me, and this new person might do that too. The new person's brand new. And so we have to change within ourselves and give everybody opportunity. But I think forgiveness is the biggest thing. And I remember, we pray for so many different things. And the one thing that I prayed for was for me, please take the feelings of
hmm,
from me. Not please change this person, not please make this person sorry, not please make this person apologize to me, not make this person, realize what they did to me. I just ask, and I still do it. Lord, please remove these feelings from me and let forgiveness enter my heart.
hmm,
It has made a world of difference for me because it's about me. I'm placing it on me. I'm the only one other than God that's in control of me. And so, you know, change other people. We can't change what they did. We can't change that abandonment. We can forgive it and ask to not feel the way that we feel, and ask, for those feelings not to carry on into adulthood. Like she said, she's carrying it into adulthood, because the
mhm.
pain is still there. The pain is so strong that we have to ask for the pain to be lifted, not for the person to be
Powerful.
sorry, because they're not necessarily ever going to be sorry. And
Right.
in many situations, and we pray for that, and even if they are sorry, most times we don't get to know that. So all we can do is pray for ourselves. Please take these feelings from me. Please change my heart about this.
Hmm.
Focus it on ourselves versus focusing on, you know God taking care of other people, because we don't know how he deals with other people. It's not our business. But within ourselves, that's what our concern needs to be.
Linnea says, excuse me, she says, on everything I love, God is speaking to me through this live.
Yes.
Tiffany
Yeah.
says, that's a word.
Yeah.
Valerie says, I definitely needed to hear that. Um, Danae says, self awareness.
Mhm.
And Shanice says, delivered me from people. One thing that I saw though, Tiffany and Don, you even really kind of talked about this in the beginning. I see where Tiffany got to the root of her problem. So once, like, how important is it for you to really take a moment, examine how you feel about something, and get to the root of the issue in order for you to move past it and truly transform?
That is the only way to get to the root cause. I mean, and I didn't mention this, but you know this, Tamika. I used to weigh 400 pounds. Well, I weighed 400 pounds. Now we could say I weighed 400 pounds because I ate too much. Well, really, when I look back on it, I didn't eat much. I ate once a day. Like, other people eat once a day. I ate once a day. And I drank regular Pepsi. I mean, should that get somebody to 400 pounds? Well, it did me. And the root cause of it was my severe unhappiness with my life. My
Mm,
body was just taking all of that pain, and it was showing out with my weight and my health. And it wasn't necessarily, you see people that weigh 400 pounds, they eat whole pizzas. I ate two pieces of pizza. I mean, sue me. But
you said you ate real, you drank real Pepsi.
I
Yeah.
drank real Pepsi. I'm sorry. I drank that Pepsi. I mean, that was my downfall. But the root cause of it was my unhappiness with my life and myself, because I had ceased to exist, and my
Right.
body screaming, and my body's like, okay, you want to cease to exist, we'll just pack this weight on you, and then you can for sure cease to exist, because now you are so overweight that you are going to hide. And that's what
Wow.
I was doing. I was hiding. And so I didn't want to be seen at 400 pounds. And so really I basically did the whole thing to myself. But the root cause of it was my unhappiness. But if you asked me about it at the time, which I've done whole speeches on this, I was fine. I mean, how many times do you see somebody at the grocery store and they go, "Oh my gosh, I haven't seen you in forever. How are you?" And you go, "I'm fine." And then they go, "How are the kids?" "Fine, great. The husband, everything's fabulous."
Yeah.
Girl, inside you're dying. You are dying. And so that's what was happening. And it just but that was the root cause of it. That was part of the beginning of the transformation, because I looked in the mirror and I didn't recognize myself physically, nor did I recognize myself, my spirit, my everything. I didn't recognize me. I was gone. And so I had to get to the root cause of that. Why do I feel this way? Well, the bottom line was I was so busy taking care of everyone else and people pleasing that I let myself disappear. And, my inner self was saying, "Hey, remember me? Remember me?" And
Yes.
I would just push her back down and be like, "No, now you got to do the laundry and make them sandwiches and, make the lunches
Yeah.
and do this. Look, we ain't got time for you. There's laundry to do today." you know and
Yeah.
and so that was it, but that was the root cause of all of that. And once I got towards that transformation, I was able to shed 250 pounds. I mean, talk about coming out.
Right. Yeah,
Coming out.
that's powerful, Don. Valerie says, I've never heard it put that way. Awesome work. Like, that is powerful, because I remember being so unhappy back, when I spoke to you a couple years ago. I was so unhappy, and I was cussing like there was no tomorrow. Like, my mouth was vile. I had so many businesses. I would start things and not finish them. And I just had all these unfinished projects. But then I was over dedicating myself to the church. I'm not telling people to not be dedicated, but I was constantly there because I was trying to be away. So I was there and I was leaving the kids behind. I'm like, y'all are fine. You're in your rooms anyway. I'm going. I'm part of this ministry and this ministry and this ministry, running myself completely ragged. And at the end of the day, when I think about it, it's like I was trying to hide from what was making me so upset.
Yes.
I was trying to hide. And I think about just so many times that I've done that. And I think a lot of us go through that. Like, we try to hide, we fear the rejection, we fear transforming, because there's pain when you have to transform, and we try to sex it away and drink it away. And when you get to the root of it,
Right.
Yeah.
And just like you were doing stuff in the church because you were hiding. I was doing all the things at home. Like, you have to be the perfect mom and the perfect wife and the perfect daughter and the perfect sister and the perfect friend and the perfect worker. You just have to be the perfect everything. And I'm going to tell you, I was perfect in all of those things. I did not miss a beat, but that was my way of hiding. That was
Hmm.
my way of hiding because how could it be bad when I'm doing all of these good things? And just like you, how can I be unhappy when I'm at the church and I'm doing these great things?
Right.
I'm
And nobody
I'm a
nobody around me knew, and then I was angry
no.
because nobody understood, and I was like, "Everybody keeps asking of me. I have no more to give." You know I'm extra, Dawn, you know.
Yeah.
You know I'm so dramatic. I call you and I'm dramatic about everything, like, but I would be like, "I have no more to give," and I'm like, "But you're giving yourself away."
Right. Right.
Like, yeah.
Right.
Um, Joyce says, "I used to hide by saying I am doing me." Woo!
Right.
Danae says, when I stopped naming those who I blamed, there was nobody but me left who is accountable for me. And
Yeah.
that's the truth. And I think you even said this, it doesn't mean that what somebody did to you was right. That's not it. But
No.
once you recognize that it's time to transform, it's so amazing. I had you here to talk about rejection, but the art, the need for transformation is so paramount because when you really give into the process of transforming, you don't even mind the rejection.
Mm-mm.
Like, you don't mind the possibility of it, I should say, because you're
No,
just ready to be somebody different.
you're ready to be yourself. You're ready to come into yourself. And it's almost like I'm gonna be myself. I'm
Yeah.
finding myself. I'm back and I don't care what y'all think. And I don't
Yes.
care if you reject me because I'm fixing to keep on going whether you like it or not. It
Absolutely.
it just is what that saying, it is what it is. Well, it's a different saying when you say it is what it is. Sometimes we say it is what we is. It is what it is when it's something that we feel we don't have control over. And so we're just like accepting of it. Well, it is what it is. No, this is a whole new day, sister. This is, well, sorry, it is what it is. It's the
And
same
there's
word,
nothing wrong with that.
but it means something totally different with the little head. Sorry.
Sorry. Alicia says perfection definitely hides the issues. Yes, you
Yes.
talked about, you're trying to be the perfect mom. I don't know. I guess I was trying to be the perfect Christian. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like for me, I knew that my home was kind of like falling apart. And I remember just becoming sick of it. I was tired of the dog pooping in the house and nobody else cleaning it up. I was tired of vacuuming and I was tired of running behind children and telling them to pick up. I just kind of like was like, I just let it go.
You know what one of the turning points was is that I used to get up early before work. Now, mind you, I was working probably, 60 to 80 hours a week. I would get up early in the morning and I would make lunch for my husband and my son. And my son was in high school. Yeah, beginning of high school. So I would get up and I would make these sandwiches and I would make this stuff, right? And it would take like, 15, 20 minutes out of my morning. And so the one day I was really running late and I said, I can't make y'all lunches or whatever. You have to figure it out. And they're like, okay. And so the next day, like I overslept again. I said, I'm sorry, I can't. Yeah, they're like, no big deal. We'll grab something. Okay. So here was my thoughts. I'm like, all right, now I get up 30 minutes early every day to make these lunches. And I could be taking them 30 minutes to meditate, pray, put on more makeup, do what
Come
I want
on.
to do, but I don't. I get up 30 minutes early to make sure that they have what they need for the day. They have their lunch, they have their food. When in all actuality, it didn't matter to them.
They didn't even care.
They didn't really, they appreciate it. Don't get me wrong. They'd say thank you. They appreciate it, but it was more important to me than it was to them. So
Hmm.
we put this on ourselves. And one day, my sister, rest her soul, my sister said to me, she said, Dawn, when are you going to stop making people's lives better for them than they'd make it for themselves? And I
Uh-oh.
thought about it with those sandwiches. I thought, I'll
Hmm.
make their life better than they're willing to make it for themselves. They're not going to make those sandwiches themselves because that's just too much effort. And
Hmm.
so and I'm like, I'm working extra hours, but yet my husband wouldn't take overtime when he had it. He'd give it to some of the other workers there. He'd say, you can have it. I don't need it because my wife makes enough money.
And you did.
So I'm making the money, but
Yeah, you made a whole bunch of money and he took the responsibility off of him, off himself.
yeah. He's like, no, I don't. So I'm like, okay. So if he was by himself, he still wouldn't work the overtime because he wouldn't make the effort to make his life better than what I made for him.
Hmm.
So we have to think about that. So guess what? After those couple days with no ham sandwiches, ain't nobody got no ham sandwiches after that. Y'all figure this one out yourself. I'm gonna pray for my 30 minutes in the morning. While
Imma
y'all
sleep in a little bit
right,
longer, like
y'all
anything.
because it mattered more to me than it did to them. But as a mother, I felt that this is what made me a great wife and mother. Okay,
Hmm.
have clean clothes. Their clothes are folded, ironed, hung up in the drawer correctly. They're not balled up in the dryer. I made extra effort on stuff like that and making these lunches. Okay. And so it was an expectation that I had put on
Hmm.
myself. And we do that. We put these expectations on ourselves, even though we don't want to do it. But we do it. And then it adds up, and there's more, and there's more, and there's more, and there's more. And then one day the light bulb goes off, and you just say, you know what? I'm done. Like you said, I'm tired of the dog pooping on the floor and nobody cleans it up. Okay, I'm tired of ham sandwiches and nobody cares if they eat them or not. How do I know? They probably threw them
You
sandwiches
might have and still bought their own food.
right. And I'm getting up early to make it. No, no.
With you saying that, it makes me wonder if we put Alicia says on Amazon, she says, "Why is she stepping on my toes?" But it makes me wonder if we put all these expectations on ourselves, is it possible that we internalize rejection that may not even really exist? Is that possible too? Like
Yes.
this fear of rejection that we
Yeah,
have really could
absolutely.
be a phantom.
It's fabulous that you come to that conclusion and you say that because here's the thing. When I was raised, my mother was almost 42 years old when she had me and my father was 50. And so that was a different era. So I was taught that if you want to keep your husband,
Uh-oh, come on.
if you want to keep your husband, you cook, you clean, you make sure the clothes are clean, you make sure the lunches are made, you make sure. So, my fear of rejection,
Hmm.
my husband, or my husband leaving because I wasn't a good wife to keep a husband, if
Hmm.
you do all these things. That's how I was raised. That's what I was taught. Serve the plate of food to the
Yeah.
table, all those things. And that's what I did. And it put all of those extra things on me that maybe not necessarily even mattered to my husband, but I was taught that's how it's supposed to be. So I was worried he'd be unhappy if I didn't. So yes, I think that you are absolutely correct. You know, from how I was raised and what I was taught is that if you don't do all these things, you're going to lose your husband.
Yeah. Yeah. And now where I'm at, I'm like, I actually like doing those things, but I'm like, but now I look at it as that adds to my value. So I'm
Yes,
like, if I, because I am the type of woman who loves to serve my husband. I mean, I'm
I
not married
do.
right now, but
I
but because
do.
that's what I love to do. But I've found that that is part of my value. It's not a requirement for me
Correct.
to be worthy. Woo! That's good stuff right
Yeah,
there.
that is good stuff right there because I'm the same way. I love it. I love doing that. Um, but you are absolutely right. It is part of my value. It's not a requirement. So if I do these things, somebody needs to recognize.
So you better recognize, like,
Right.
over on Amazon, they said, "And in the meantime, nobody teaches them how to be husbands." Ooh, 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 my
Oh,
goodness.
oh, correct.
Yep. Like, Absolutely. Alicia says, she says, not a requirement. She said, that's a whole word. That's right. Danae's echoing that. She said, that's part of my value, not a requirement. That's it, like, that's my value, you know. But I didn't even really come into that until after my second divorce. And I forced myself to be alone. And I
Mm,
forced myself to realize that me being alone was not a form of rejection. Like, it was a choice, you
right.
know. It's just,
And a great one.
and it's like, and enjoying my own company. I started loving my own company. And
Yes.
in me making that decision, I was in a job when I was working in Philadelphia, and they treated me so badly. But I remember at what it was like a low point. I didn't have any money in the bank, but I remember just being like, what I'm teaching these children, like, I mean, I was the dance teacher, but those babies learn because I speak Spanish. So I taught them how to speak Spanish. They could find all the countries we were learning dances from on a map. I mean, I'm talking about 5 year olds who could do this stuff. I'm like, I could be hired out and make what I make in a day per hour. And for
Mhm.
some reason, me again learning to say no started increasing my confidence. And then the crazy part is when I started thinking that way, then I got fired. But it was, and which most people would consider that to be the ultimate rejection. It was the best thing for me
Yes.
because I wouldn't
Yes.
have walked away from it. I wouldn't have
No.
walked away. I would have just sat around complaining.
No.
But when
But
I got
see,
fired, yeah, go ahead.
here's the thing, and that's the job that you took to leave, right? When you left.
Yes,
So
yes,
so God giveth and God taketh away. And it's always, the taketh away is not always meant in a negative way. So he got you there. He gave you the job. He got you there. He got you away from where you were. And then he took the job because it wasn't for you. So it served its purpose. It got
yes.
you where you were going, and then you moved on from there. But in the meantime, it helped you with that confidence level, that way of saying no. No, I'm worth more than this,
It's
you know?
amazing that you say that because I even think about like the last relationship that I was in where I was completely heartbroken, and I was looking at it as a form of rejection. And now now it's been a while. And now when I look at it, I'm like, but it happened, the rejection happened because you finally stood up for what you wanted out of
Mhm,
this relationship. And you said, I want X, Y, and Z. And the other person said, I can't give that to you. And I was
mhm.
like, that's not rejection. That
No.
really was me standing up for myself. So it's really a
Mhm.
matter of perspective.
Right.
A lot of
Right.
our rejection, it's perspective. It's like, were you really rejected, or did you stand up for yourself and set a boundary and say, this is what I want?
Right. Your non-negotiables.
It was non-negotiable.
And you
And I've
stood up
carried
for
that.
yourself.
I
Yeah.
I I haven't even dated. I have crazy jokers that try to, and I'm like, "But your conversation sucks on the phone, so you don't even get my time away from my business to even take me to lunch." You know,
Right.
like, you don't get that. You don't call me the way I like for you to call, so you don't communicate well. It's a
Right.
non-negotiable for me now,
Right.
you know? If you
Yep.
don't communicate, this doesn't work for me because that's what I need for
Right.
me. This
Right.
is good. Tiffany says such a powerful conversation. This is powerful. This is powerful. Yes, it is. Good stuff. And I'm having like all these light bulbs. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah. And yeah. And yeah.
Yeah. Dawn, I've had you here, and listen, you are a newlywed.
I am. Woo.
Is it okay if I ask you about that? Like, we talked about your big
Sure.
transformation, you taking time for yourself, and then now you're with somebody and you're like completely in love. For those of us as women who we're in that space where we're single and all those different things, and we are hoping for something. Like, can you talk to us just about how that came into being?
Well, and this is funny because we dated. I have been single for probably about almost 10 years. But we had dated, not, we dated about 5 or 6 years ago, 6 years ago, I think. And we dated for a couple months, and I fell like the moment I saw him, I fell madly in love with him. Like I've never had love at first sight ever in my life. And so I fell in love with him, and we dated for just maybe about 3 months. And he had gone back to school. his profession is a social worker for DHS with children. And so he was on a long-term case that lasted about 6 months, that was in another town, quite a ways away, and he was only coming back for the weekends. And he has, single father, and had his kids. And he was going back to school for his bachelor's, not his bachelor's. Um what did he Girl, it's gone from me. His master's degree. His
Right.
master's.
I'm
I'm
telling you, I'm gonna say his
Where
masters.
where am I? His master's degree.
You're in love. That's where you are.
Yeah, yeah. So, anyways, so he had all of that going on, and he broke up with me. And when I tell you, it took me 2 years to speak his name without crying, without tears like instantly coming out of my eyes. And so we had been apart, not talking at all, not talking at all. And then about 3 years ago, we started talking on Facebook, and he came over and did some repairs at my house, and that's it.
I
End
said,
of
you better
story.
work for it.
End of story. Yeah, it was not meant to be at the time, because he did have so much going on, and his kids were, younger, 12 and 13, and girls, and he's a guy, and how we raise him. Oh my God, I can't even imagine. But anyway, so he was going through a lot, doing a lot, and so it just wasn't the time. And so now it is the time, but it did take 3 years for him to ask. And so, yeah, there is life, and life after divorce. And the one thing I will say is that um, my non-negotiables have been met. And so for me, because I am constantly doing business, I'm all about business. And you know me, Tamika. I can't even talk to you without telling you how to make some money on something.
I
And
appreciate it.
he is is just me. It's in my DNA. And he is very tuned into that. And I can have these business conversations with him. He's looking up something in a heartbeat. He's fabulous with content. He should actually be a speaker, but he will not. He just gives me, um, just all those things, the communication, the fun, the sense of humor. It's just all there. But there were so many that did not pass the non-negotiables before him. And so, I'm 56 years old. So in June, I'll be 57. And so, you know, um, even though I was thinking to myself that I would, be alone for the rest of my life, I did not settle. I still did not
Love it.
settle for not meeting what I needed. And along he came, and came back. Um and so, there's a possibility, it's possible for all of us. And it's fabulous. We can have conversations. My first husband, who was a great guy,
Mm.
but did not have any type of business mind, anything like that. So it's like I couldn't talk to him about what my passion is. We couldn't have the conversation because it was just over his head. We just weren't at the same place. And so that's very important to me. I want to be able to say, hey, I got this coming up, and I want to speak on this. What subject matter do you think we should go with? And he's like, on it, on it. I mean, he's written probably 80% of any presentation that I do, unless it's an interview like this. If it's a speech, he has written it. And
Wow.
so it's just things like that, that are
And
just,
just the fact that he even allows you to just be you. It
oh,
it 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 takes a very special man to be with a powerful woman. I know a lot of people like using the word alpha woman and all that stuff. I mean, whatever. I don't really care. I don't need to be known as an alpha. Like, I'm a powerful woman. Have business sense and all that. But it takes a special man to deal with women like us.
it does. It
And
does.
you're in the public eye. Like, you
Yes.
you really are on celebrity status. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right. And he
Yeah.
was like, I'm like, I'm going to change my name. And he said, oh, no, 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 no. And
Because
I
I
said,
did
what are
ask
you
you, I said,
talking
what's
about?
your name now? Like,
I'm like, what are you talking about? And, because Leek is my first husband's last name,
Right.
I never went back to the maiden name. And I said, I really don't think it's appropriate, honey, to be married and have another man's last name. And he said, oh, but sweetie, you're already branded under that name.
Come on, sir. Come
Yeah.
on, sir.
He's
Lord,
like,
send me somebody.
right. He will. He will. He
Yes,
was
he
like,
will.
he said you can change it legally if that's your choice, if you feel strongly about it. He's like, but with everything else, your social media and all of your
It
stuff,
makes
he's
sense.
like, no one's gonna know who Dawn McGrath is. And I'm like, okay,
I do like that name though. That's a sexy name.
it is. I like it.
And it's yours. It's
It's
yours.
mine
I
if I
love
so
it.
choose to use it.
I love it. Christine says, I'm a first time viewer. Hi, Christine. She says, this is so, so, so good. I struggle with feeling rejection. So I needed to hear what you ladies are saying tonight. Thank you so much for being a first time viewer
Yeah,
and for letting us know. This is that is so good. That is so good.
yeah.
Danae says, I loved the black wedding dress. Yes,
Oh, thank
you
you.
were hot to try, honey. I said, trust Dawn to be like, chick, I'm coming out wearing black. Don't even play with me. I'm wearing black. My daughter told me she was going to get a black wedding dress. I mean, she's 17, but then I remember being like, I was like, you just want to ruin my life. I'm dramatic. I was like, you've set out already to ruin my life. You don't even have a boyfriend. Like, what are you talking about? But when I saw you in that dress, I said, oh, I said, okay, okay.
Yes.
Nubian Queen is laughing at me. She said, you don't have good phone etiquette, so no coffee in person. That is the truth, though. Like, y'all, I just look at we as women, I'm like stuttering now, but I think about what some of the standards are in life right now, and I'm gonna wrap up, I promise. But now I get a lot of cues where people are like, "Well, you need to date a bunch of people," and I'm like, "But that's just not who I am. I don't want to spread myself around like that." And then I also look at to date. It's like you don't get to take me off the market on any market, whether that's my business, me running my business, me spending time with my children. You have to be very special before I give you my time because it's limited.
Very,
Yeah.
very, you
Um,
know,
Tiffany says, she said, my divorce happened for a reason. The heartbreak had to happen in order for God to save my life. I,
yep.
I resonate with that, Tiffany. I remember feeling like that. And I don't want to flash this person on the screen because I'm not sure, but they said, due to my past sexual trauma, I've had hard times setting boundaries in not just relationships, but with family and friends as well. Don, do you have any advice for that? And we are going to wrap up. So if you all that are tuned into the live show, if you have a question, please post it now because we are wrapping up because Don has Mr. McGrath to get back to.
I do. I think that one of the things, and family members are usually the hardest. I
Hmm.
remember one of my very best friends had a problem with her grown sons. She was single for a long time and she just really did everything for her sons, and they treated her very, very poorly. They called
Wow.
her everything out of her name but her name,
Mm.
just stuff that you could not even imagine. And I heard it one day. I was on the phone with her, and one of her sons just said some horrible things, and she said, I just don't know what to do. And I said, here's what you're going to do, because they would always want like money, they would want this, but then if she wouldn't give what they wanted, then it was this barrage of awful language and name calling and all these things. And so I said, you're going to say no the next time. And she's, oh my god, there'll be hell to pay. And I said, so pay it. Just say no. And I said, then it's going to happen. And then you're going to get all this kickback. And then something's going to come up again. Just say no and stand firm in your no, because it's about you. It's not about them. And so she did it. And it took 3 times with each son.
Hmm.
And guess what? It never happened again, because they figured out they could not intimidate her anymore. They could not push her around, and she was going to say no. And she just simply told them, if you're going to disrespect me and not respect my wishes and my
Hmm.
word of what I say, I'm done with you. I'm not talking to you anymore. I don't have to talk to you. You're grown. I've raised you, and obviously you're not acting how you were raised. So I don't have to even talk to you. And so it's all about standing firm, just like you said, Tamika. It's so liberating to say no. And, but you have to stand firm because they will try to wear you down, and they will wear you down with guilt trips and whatever. When they start, tell them no and just go to another room and start praying on it. I'm telling
Yeah.
you, to stay, stand firm, do not falter. And they'll get it. It's just like it's just, I use this, but it's like a dog, a puppy that you're trying to potty train, right?
Yeah.
If there's a consequence of pooping on the floor, then it don't take too many times until they get it. Like, oh, if I don't go to the door to try and get out, I'm gonna get in trouble.
Hmm.
People are the same way. It's just like a kid. Adults sometimes have to be treated like puppies and like children until they understand what the boundaries are, and we're not
Yes.
standing for it, and there's a consequence. You're not going to have access to me. If you're going to treat me that way, if you're going to speak to me that way, you no longer have access to me. Access denied.
Access denied. That
That's it.
access denied.
Yep.
Access denied. And I think to just speak to setting boundaries, I'm going back to what you said in terms of pick at least three boundaries that are just non-negotiable. And that's even with your family. I mean, I
Hmm.
even with our children. I mean, I have a child that does everything I ask her to do, never have pushback. I have another one who there's pushback sometimes, and it can be painful when you are a good parent and you want to do the best for your kids. But I had a situation where I just had to say to her, no, I'm not going to do X, Y, and Z for you because I don't appreciate how you just spoke to me. So now
Yeah.
you got to live with that, boo. That
Yeah.
just happened this past weekend. You have to live with that. And she actually came to me later and was like, are you really not? And I was like, I'm really not.
Right.
And I said, you didn't believe me when I said I wasn't going to? And she really didn't she didn't respond. I walked away. But I'm gonna tell you what, her attitude was better probably about 10 minutes later, but I still didn't do it. I stuck firm with what I said to what I
Yeah.
said.
And the reason why she probably asked was because in the past you said you weren't going to, but you did.
I always did.
You always did. And this time you stood firm. And so now she's going to think about it the next time when you say, well, you spoke to me, out of line. I'm not doing this. She's going to know next time. Ooh, she's right. She's not going to do it because she didn't do it last time. She ain't going to do it this time.
Listen,
Yeah.
and for everybody that's tuned in, listen, I just want you guys to understand that you're listening to me. A lot of you tune into me often. Some of you, this is your first time. A lot of you follow Dawn as well. And just because you see us at the forefront, it doesn't mean that we don't have to implement the stuff that we say, the stuff that we kind of coach everybody else on. And it doesn't mean that sometimes things don't continue to come up. But what we're saying to you is be brave enough to stand in your own truth. Be brave enough to set boundaries. Be brave enough to walk away from things that you don't want. Be brave enough to face the rejection that we've like come to understand. A lot of rejection and a lot of the fear we have for rejection is it's it's self-induced. You know, I used to be afraid of telling other people no, and most of the time they didn't even react the way I thought they were.
Right. And so I think in all, I totally agree in everything that you just said to me. And the biggest thing is, don't be afraid. Be brave enough to put yourself, only yourself, in the
Hmm.
number one spot. No one
Wow.
is above you except God. No one. No one is above you. Not your husband, not your children, not your friends, not your family. No one should be placed in your mind and heart above you except God. You have to look out for yourself. You have to take care of yourself. You have to listen to yourself. Don't forsake yourself by, cowering to other people's bullying, because basically that's what it is. It's adult bullying. Um, you don't have to stand for it. Put yourself first. Know your worth. Know your worth and accept yourself for the beautiful person that you are. And just hold your head up and be like, no, it is what it is.
It is what it is. I love it. I love it. Dawn, tell us about some new projects that you have going on because somebody may want to contribute. I know you have a new book project that's coming up.
I do. I have a brand new book project coming up. I have Finally Free 2. So, two. So, this book is going to be authors contributing and writing about, things that they have gone through. A lot of people have gone through many things during this pandemic. And so, writing about how to get past loss, writing about, you know, different grief, writing about fear, right? I mean, our world has turned upside down, right? So, writing about fear and what we've walked through for the last 2 years. It's
Hmm.
totally different world now, right? And so just writing about things along those lines, words of wisdom, how to move forward. Just, it's open. I am open to anyone that's finally free. And we are going to have some of the authors from Finally Free, the first volume, write about what has happened since last January when the book came out. Where are they at now that they're finally free? Because believe me, their lives have changed and are totally different.
I
So,
love it.
yes, absolutely. If anyone's interested in that, definitely reach out to me. I would love to talk with you.
And tell us how we can connect with you.
The easiest way to connect with me is Facebook Messenger. That's probably the quickest under Dawn Leek, but I am on Instagram, I am on LinkedIn and Facebook, all under Dawn Leek.
Love it, love it, love it. And even though she didn't tell you her website, www.donleek.com is how you will reach her. This has been such an amazing almost hour and a half. Thank you so much for just taking your time to hang out with me and to hang out with everybody that's tuned in. Nubian Queen says, wow, that's a good reminder. Amen, period. And that was from when you were talking about putting yourself first, give yourself permission to put yourself above everyone else except for God. And I think
Mhm.
that is really powerful. When we talk about self-care, oftentimes we talk about it in terms of, oh, I got nails done or I went and got a massage. And it's really a lifestyle. To me, self-care is a lifestyle. It's really a lifestyle. And so you really gave us so many incredible nuggets on tonight. And I'm just grateful that you were here. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I've really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, this was just incredible. Shanice says this was very good. Thanks for sharing. I appreciate all of you hanging out with me on tonight. Make sure that you connect with Dawn. Find her, as she says, she's on all social media. You can find her under Dawn Leek. You can also go to her website, www.dawnleek.com. Also, make sure that you grab the book. If you have not grabbed the book, Finally Free, you can grab that book. Now, listen, if you were tuned in on Amazon, if you look down in the carousel, all of Dawn's books are there. We didn't even talk about all of your other books, but you have books like Boss Your Lane, Drop the Mask. Yeah, and so Dawn has spearheaded a number of books. And so please jump on Amazon, make sure that you jump on my link that is in the show notes. I call them show notes. Like that's such old podcaster term, but it's in the show notes. It lets Amazon know that I'm super cool. And I appreciate that. Mercy, thank you for being here. Valerie, thank you so much for being here. Danae, thank you for being here as well. Thank you to everybody that was on Amazon, on YouTube also. And friends, make sure you follow me. Go to I am Tamika Hall 1. I'm on all social media too, except for LinkedIn, because I just don't know how to navigate it. You can find me on tamikahall.com. I love you guys. Remember, you were created to make God famous, and He has anointed you to do hard things. Have a blessed night. Bye.
Night.